Research shows that only people with a severe case of schadenfreude recommend Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond.
Would you like to learn from those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level? Best-selling author of Speakeasy and master connector Lou Diamond is here to connect you to some of the most inspiring and amazing people on this planet. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another spectacular episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting into the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I am your host, Lou Diamond, and today on Thrive Loud, we have a man who is no stranger to overcoming adversity and mastering his own overwhelm. From being homeless and living in his truck to becoming a millionaire and successful in business. He's an incredible coach, motivator, and author, helping leaders to achieve sustainable success in all areas of their business lives. Thrive Loud listeners, the author of the best-selling book and amazing podcast, Mastering Overwhelm, How to Thrive in Business, Relationship, and Life, which is why you're here, I bring you Mark Silverman. Mark, welcome to Thrive Loud.
I'd like to cut that and make that the intro to my podcast. That was so much better than what I did for myself.
We can speak, and I could talk, and maybe I could work out some kind of fee for that, but
Appreciate
we'll figure it out. Great to have you on. Really good story. I've given the opening to it, but it'll sound a lot better when people hear it from you. Why don't we do a little rewind? I don't want to go all the way back to the womb, but I'll go back a little bit to understand kind of how this all became your gig.
So you talked about the fact that I was homeless when I was 27 years old. I I grew up kind of poor. I was a drug addict, an alcoholic, a sex addict, you name the isms, I had them. And I didn't learn till later on in life that I, had ADHD. Like when we tested my son in my 40s, I found out the reason for a lot of what had happened to me. But when I got sober, and I slowly, I went through college, in my early 30s, and I started to become successful in business. I looked at everything very differently. I raised my kids in $1 million house in status symbol land, but I wasn't from there. So, so success, the whole world that I lived in was a very different thing. I became really successful, way beyond my wildest dreams. I remember telling my ex-wife, my now ex-wife, but when we got married, I may never be more than anything but a waiter, and you have to be okay with that. Because I was a waiter into my 30s. And she said she was okay with that. And then when we started making money hand over fist, she was like, I didn't expect this. It was pretty cool. But fast forward another decade, and I talk a lot about trauma work and internal work, and that if you don't do that work, when middle age comes, when that time in life comes, those internal drives and motivations that get you to become successful. So I never wanted anybody to see the homeless guy. I never wanted anybody to see the addict, the loser that I was. So I drove myself really hard to be successful. And that in about 2008, 2009 led to a crash and burn. And I was watching people left and right to me. And if you were in business, like when you have your sales kickoffs in Las Vegas, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. The things we did to deal with the stress of being in the 1% destroyed our relationships, destroyed our health, destroyed our mental health and our well-being. And I watched that all around me. And then it happened to me. So when I built myself back, when I lost everything, stone cold sober, my career was in the toilet, my marriage was in shambles, everything was just, my health was gone. And again, stone cold sober. When I built that back piece by piece by piece, I built back another person and I dedicated my life. I've decided, and this was even before I became a coach, because I didn't know what coaching was, that I was going to help everybody I could do success differently. I was tired of seeing people die from the stress. I was tired of seeing marriages fall apart. I was just tired of it. So that's what I do all day, every day. I sell promotions, more money, business, executive coaching. What I really care about is the well-being of the people who are in my care.
I like it. want to ask you a question, and we've had a lot of guests on the program who've had to, they've either hit rock bottom or been at a rock bottom.
It's such a cliche story, but it still works.
But I also want to make this notice that there seems to be this calling for people like yourself to want to focus on helping people the same type of help that they needed, whether it's for coaching or counseling or the work that they do, and that becomes the passion, the pain that they needed to go through in that process, and then recognizing that that's something that they wanted to do. Is it a feeling of wanting to give back because you were you had help to be brought to a level out of that level and feel there's this onus, or that's where you're most passionate? Or do you think that is actually what makes them the most credible in the greatest coaches and the greatest piece of work, and that is because they've been down the road? I'd love to get your take on that.
Both. I think it's both. For me, it's a driving passion because I don't want to see other people suffer needlessly. I'm kind of like an ex-smoker. I remember the moment I went from hating myself to not wanting to live to loving myself and being on my own side. I remember the exact moment, what I was reading, where I was sitting. And from then I became an ex-smoker. Like, everybody has to quit smoking. Everybody has to understand that they're worthwhile, that they're chasing the wrong things, and that they have intrinsic value. I need to tell everybody. So for me, it was just a need to show people the world that they're living in isn't the real world, and that there's something more real for them. It's just a drive, and it's what I see in other people. It's like we want to, you don't pull up the ladder once you go up the ladder. You go help people up the ladder.
Mark, what is the most common thing you're seeing today as a coach and helping to motivate people? Because today we've had some interesting issues, right? And I'm going today in this last 3 to 4 years, coming out of the pandemic, the isolation of being together. There's been a lot of stress. Obviously, there's also been stress within the economy of late, or things are, on pins and needles, if you would, in certain industries. And all you keep hearing about is a much more acute awareness of mental health and trying to help people get back on the right track. But people are dealing with lots of issues. What specific issues are you seeing more often than others?
Unnecessary stress. And I don't mean unnecessary, I'm a little stressed out. Unnecessary crippling anxiety and stress. And I watch really successful people live with it and medicate it however they medicate it for years and maybe even a decade, and not know the toll that it takes on them. And for me, it's the stress about things that are unreal. The cliche where people say, the career cliche where people say, is your ladder, you're climbing the ladder, but is the ladder on the wrong building? It's not just career. It's you're driving yourself, but are you driving yourself from old fears, from things you think you're supposed to have, right? If you're on social media at all, you're fed a steady diet of things that are not going to help you. If you watch baseball or football on TV, you are not advertised food, right? You are a product of the attention society. So your mental health is being attacked from every angle, whether it's food, whether it's image, whether it's attention. So the world doesn't, and I'm not a conspiracy theory that the government is trying to keep us fat, dumb, and happy, right? But the prophets want us distracted, want us sedated, and want us buying things. So when we do that, we have to keep careers that we may not want to be part of. We have to drive ourselves. We look at our family and we go, oh my God, I'm not giving my kids the things that they need. And we just beat ourselves up and beat ourselves into submission. I was just talking to a client of mine who is just wealthy beyond belief, beyond what I can even comprehend. And he was talking about this stressor in his life that was financial with his family that he had put himself in. And it was like pocket change, right? Like I could see it's pocket change for him, right? And I actually had to say to you, I said to him while he was in all this angst, and it was strife between him and his family. And I said, can I be out of line? Have I earned the right to be completely unprofessional? And he's, of course you have, Mark, because I have that kind of relationship. I said, aren't you fucking rich? Like, honest to God, like, and we work through the mental gymnastics of decisions and choices and beliefs about money to get to the point of, oh yeah, I can just break into this investment account. I can make this problem go away, and it's not a big deal, right? But in his head, it was this gigantic problem. That's what most people are dealing with all day, every day.
The unnecessary stress, and I like the way you've labeled it that way. Okay, I want to ask a little bit of a tactical question, and then I'll get a little deeper. And the tactical question is, how do we avoid the noise? And that's helping push this stress. You're right. We are consumers. It's a consumer economy. That's literally how Americans specifically are just
and
being
by the way, if
marketed
you look in my
constantly.
closet, you will know I am not immune to it. I get a new car every 2 years. So I am perfectly fine to keep the wheels of the economy going.
Well, but that isn't the issue here. The issue is that you're coming from all this different noise around you that's helping to add to the stress or the pressures that are there. So I'll start off with, I don't believe you can avoid the noise, but I want to know how you can manage it. Yes, you can go into a social media cave and stay out of all the different presses out there. I'll let you know, I personally have stopped watching the major news networks because they literally are paid to show the negative news, and it beats down on you, and it's almost toxic to me. That being said, how can we manage it more effectively? And what are some of the tips that you're helping people, let alone hitting them over the head with the reality button, aren't you fucking rich, type of thing that can help them? What's a good practice that people can take, that they can put into their daily lives so that they are not getting pinched into the corner that starts to create this unnecessary stress?
So the first thing I tell people is to read Johann Hari's Stolen Focus. That is one of the most important books, I think, written in the last 10 years. And the premise of that is all the research that they've done on the Attention Society and what Google and Facebook and Apple and everybody is doing for that little red dot to get your attention and to keep you online. That kind of talks about the problem. Then there's like Nir Eyal, who, Indistractable, talks about
we had him on the show.
Problem.
I
it's
loved
your
it.
responsibility to fix this, right? Just like you're fat because you eat the wrong foods, not because the foods that are advertised and sent to you, don't help you make good choices, right? There's always both ends. But I have to start with a contemplation practice. Nothing is going to happen until you learn to be with yourself. Most of us can't sit in a room, in a chair, without something to do, something to read, something to look at, something to distract us. We can't sit with ourselves. I've been watching interview after interview of Tina Turner since she just died.
Yeah.
And love her music, love the grit of and courage of her life. But then when you really listen to her, she said, the only way to deal with any of this is to be able to source yourself inside. Yeah. She says, you have to be able to take care of yourself, and it isn't drugs and alcohol. And I was really struck by her Buddhist practice of going inside and sourcing from herself. So if you want even a fighting chance to deal with overwhelm, to deal with any of your leadership challenges, to deal with anything that you're, with your relationships, you have to be able to sit by yourself, whether that's meditation, whether that's drawing, whether that's walking without headphones. Journaling, I think, is one of the most useful things on the planet for anybody. Tim Ferriss calls it window washing when you do Julia Cameron's morning pages, 3 pages of stream of consciousness. And I do that religiously. I tell people ask me, how are you Zen Master Flash? Like, Mark, how do you show up this way? I'm like, I build this guy every day. I get up at 5:15 in the morning. I get on my cushion. I do my work so that this guy shows up. He doesn't automatically show up, right? Because I'm inundated with the same things. I love the news. I get that dopamine. I'm a dopamine junkie. So I have to start first by being okay with being myself.
I like it. And you answered our signature question, when you're not thriving, what practice do you seek when you want to get back on the thriving track? I get the idea of what that could be. And I love this advice for people. I also recognize something that is such a reality right now, and it's so hard. And that is just, we have continually become busier. The day seems to go faster. And a lot of it just has to do with all the different distractions you have out there and that are hitting you at different times. And there's lots of things to do. I'd love to hear your day. You started off how you started off your day. I want to hear how you manage the rest of it. Because I know we do that sometimes. Like, what do you do in your morning routine, whatever it is? Give a day in the life of somebody that is trying to master the overwhelm and is dealing with a lot of overwhelming work as well. Each day,
when
so that people have
you're talking about when I eat my own dog food.
Exactly.
Right?
That's what I want to see. Are you eating your own dog food? I want to hear what it is. When you eat
So
it.
I eat my own dog food most of the time. And that's what I tell people in the Mastering Overwhelm workshop. I say, I can't keep you from getting into overwhelm. If you have families, if you have a business, if you have an inbox, you're going to be overwhelmed. It's just going to happen. I can help get you out of overwhelm, right? I can help you to stop scaring yourself. I can help you look at what's on your to-do list that's superfluous, that you think you should be doing, that you don't normally need to be doing. So for me, again, I'm in bed by 10:15. Well, it's 10:15 because usually we watch a TV show from 9 to 10, and then I'm in bed by 10 o'clock. I'm up at 5:15. I have my coffee. I do my meditation. I do my journaling, and I spend an hour by myself. If I don't get to spend an hour by myself, it's usually pretty tough. If a couple days go by, you can start to see the difference. So I have my morning routine. Then I have coffee in front of my saltwater fish tank with my spouse. Then I go exercise, and then I start my day. The way I organize my day is with the Only Tens, which is my book, is I look for the things, because again, I have ADHD. So when I look at a to-do list, if I had everything on my to-do list, I can't do A, B, C, big rocks, little rocks. Everything screams at me at the same volume. So I can't really look at a list and decide what's important to do. Everything's important and everything screams. So what I do is I put on my whiteboard, whether those 1, 2, or 3 things that absolutely have to get done and have to get done by me today. And I make sure that those things are the priority. So I have my meetings scheduled, and I look at those couple of things. If I get those 1, 2, or 3 things done, then I know I'm a success. And I really try to look at the things that are shiny objects, because again, I'm a dopamine addict. So I like to do things that are fun, that are interesting, that may take me off my agenda. So right now, my agenda is writing my new book, and it's in the home stretch. It's called The Rising Leader Handbook: How to Turn High Achievers into Effective Leaders, and it has a deadline. So I have to be sitting with my fingers on the keyboard a certain amount of time every single day. So that's a priority. So really organizing my day, having the conversations and setting the boundaries that I need to be able to do those things. Now, I'm not a get things done machine. I wish I was. I'm a feeler. I'm ADD. I like to go down the rabbit hole with videos and things like that. And I can't fix that about myself. No matter how much I beat myself up, no matter how much I set up timers and all that stuff, never been. But if I make sure that I just do those 1, 2, or 3 things, then I don't hate myself at the end of the day, because those big rocks got done. The funny thing is that I get way more done on the list by doing that than having the whole list there.
I want to ask this question, and you can apply it to either your book, Only Tens, or this new book that you're writing right now. I ask authors on the program that you're creating content that is a gift to the world. So the gift is given to those that are the readers or the listeners or whatever it is of the content that you create. But every time a new piece of content is created, there's actually this happy accident, which is a gift that's given to the content creator, his or herself, in this case, you. You get a gift when you've been creating this content. I'm going to ask you right now for the new book you're writing, because you're in the process of doing it. Is there a gift that has emerged in the work that you're doing right now in The Rising Leader that
Sure.
you have found? And can you share it with us?
Sure. So when I wrote Only Tens, I had this idea for how to get shit done with ADHD. I figured out where I was lying to myself, where I was lying to other people, and what I was willing to do, what I wasn't willing to do. And I fixed, for the most part, my problem of not being able to stay on task and get things done. So, but when I started writing the book was done, and things came up in my life that smashed every concept, everything I had in the book, and destroyed my flow. And I had to rewrite some chapters to incorporate that, and it made it a better book. I had to live into and grow into the book that I wrote. For the Rising Leader program, basically what I do for a living all day, every day is I work with leadership teams and often special cases of really talented people who need to be taught leadership skills in order to kind of grow into the position that they're in. And we decided to write this book because it's what I do all day, every day. And we created the Rising Leader program. My new podcast is the Rising Leader podcast. Writing this book has forced me to look at my own leadership skills, where I'm lacking, where I'm not stepping up in the way I'm asking other people to step up. You can't see it, but I have a lion tattoo down the length of my arm that says "Grounded in God." And the lion tattoo and the Rising Leader program go hand in hand. It's me having to live into and grow to be the guy who can present this material authentically, right? So I've been teaching it and been doing it. And now by putting my stake in the ground and saying, I'm this guy, God, the world, whatever, is asking me to grow accordingly.
I like the title too, by the way, The Rising Leaders. I'm looking forward to
Thank
it.
you.
Can't wait to hear, see, catch all the finished product. What I want to do now is let's do the admin part of the show. We're going to have a little extended version of Fun Street here. Can you share with the listeners all the places people can learn about you, the podcast, social handles, everything, when the new book's coming out? This episode's coming out here in June of 2023, but all the engagement is better when they hear it directly from you.
I am, my website is markjsilverman.com, markdelairejsilverman.com. You can find the podcast there, the Rising Leader podcast. You can find free copy. You can get a free copy of Only Tens there. Happy to give that away. And all my socials are Mark letter J Silverman, and you can find me anywhere and everywhere.
Did the podcast get a rebrand?
I have a camera in my face all the time.
Yeah. Did the podcast get a rebrand? Was it originally Mastering Overwhelm, and now
it was mastering? It was originally Mastering Midlife. Then right. I turned 60, and I'm like, I can't do midlife anymore. And then we did Mastering Overwhelm because that's what I was traveling the country doing.
And now it's Rising Leaders.
And now it's the Rising Leader program. So everything is shifted over to the Rising Leader. I put all my eggs in that basket.
I like it. I apologize for the opening there, and now we know. Well, that's good. Are you ready to go down Fun Street here?
I'm totally ready to go down Fun Street.
Okay. Share with the listeners what you shared with me as one of your all-time favorite movies.
Oh, it's Die Hard. The best Christmas movie ever.
Okay. So I want to go. I'm going to put a pin on that in the Christmas movie. Okay. So while it is around Christmas and it's an action movie, maybe I think of Christmas movies as a little bit more sentimental, or around the tree or the celebrations. I mean, let's call it what it is. This is a heist movie that is basically an incredible story of an unsung hero rescuing and saving the day that just happens to happen around Christmas time. Does that make it a Christmas movie? It's a tough call.
Agree to disagree, because I've seen a completely different movie than you. To me, it's just a man trying to get to his family. It's just trying to get home to his family, and there's some obstacles in the way named Hans Gruber.
Yeah. It is really good. They've talked about this on one of my favorite podcasts is The Rewatchables by Bill Simmons, and they go through the movie. And after Die Hard, it was basically like any type of movie where that was that unsung hero. It was Die Hard on a plane, Die Hard on a truck, Die Hard in an airport, whatever it might be, right? So it's always the same. Although Die Hard, that might have been Die Hard too. My favorite bit of that whole thing is the end, the very end scene when the other guy's still alive, and the cop who hasn't shot anybody since he accidentally killed someone, lines up, hits the gun, and then the limo comes out, and he's about to hit again, and Bruce Willis grabs him with the gun. He goes, "He's with me."
Right.
So just like such a cat, after all the shit that they've gone through, that's what it is. Always gets me.
It's a perfect movie.
We're going to do the speed round here. I'm going to ask you something. First thing that comes to your mind. These are things that lift you up, motivate you, make you feel good. Basically, they make you thrive. You ready to roll? Okay.
Sure.
Of late, recently, a song that you've been listening to, one that you jam, or maybe one that pumps you up.
Need to Know by Lettucey.
Oh, okay. I like that one. I've heard that recently. A favorite food that's not a dessert.
Pizza.
A favorite dessert.
Anything chocolate.
An activity you wish you did more of.
Drawing and painting and art.
Okay. What kind of work do you do? Is it like the painting is like, you have a certain type of thing you do? Or
I do acrylics and I mostly draw. I like to draw, and when I'm in that habit, it really flourishes. But my creative juices are all going into the book right now. So when I have my creative time where I would normally draw, I have my hands on a keyboard.
An activity you wish you did less of?
Scrolling social media.
A new activity or an activity that was new to you that you recently tried that you like so much, you want to tell everybody about it.
So I just got back from Turks Caicos and got my advanced diving certification. Nice. So now I can go down 90, 100 feet and was swimming with sharks and turtles. And, it was just amazing. Scuba diving I'm now proficient enough that it's not, there's a rock, there's a fish, don't die, as Jerry Seinfeld says. And I'm now like part of the ecosystem. Like I finally am now serene underwater, and it's a gorgeous experience.
Last bit in this, if I could snap my fingers and Mark Silverman could be anywhere in the world, where are you?
Hawaii.
Where is it?
Hawaii.
And you've been?
About 12 or 14 times.
Then you've been.
I wear it around my neck. Yeah. I wear the island of Hawaii around my neck. It's if I didn't have children and a significant other and all these things here on the East Coast, I'd live in Hawaii easily.
We'll have to make sure we connect you to Kohana Rum the next time you got here. A long line sponsor of this little program, which I think you would enjoy. Mark Silverman, everybody check it out. He's mastering overwhelm. He is helping the rising leader. That's his whole brand and everything out there, helping all these amazing leaders do exactly that. Well, thank you for rising above. And listeners need to know, this was a weather-delayed podcast. This was supposed to happen earlier in the week, and there was, not weather-delayed, it actually was a tree that was down from a power outage and took out the power literally as I was saying hello to Mark. So I got some extra time. So you listeners are lucky. This thing actually happened. We have the behind the scenes of podcasting. Most people don't fully understand. Great to have you here, and thanks for your patience.
Thank you.
To all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep moving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone. And I'm about to lose it. I need to know.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.